Hello. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? A little bit? Okay. I think this thing is on. So, um, all right. So it's 5:30. If you can't hear me right now, I apologize, but we'll work on that. My name is Doria Brown. I'm the energy manager for the city of Nashua, and today we're talking about community power. This is a public info session to talk about this program and how it's going to work when it starts up on April 23rd. So we'll have a brief presentation, and then afterwards we'll be able to take questions. So I'll pass around that microphone with Deb, and I hope I'm able to get to everybody's questions. Does that sound good to everyone? All right, let's get started. So I'm going to briefly go over how community power works. So Nashua Community Power purchases electricity from sources you choose. Eversource delivers the electricity using the same power line infrastructure and billing mechanisms. Nashua energy consumers save money and have the power to choose new rates and products and how much electricity comes from renewable resources. Nashua Community Power combines the buying power of residents and businesses so that together we can achieve competitively priced electricity. All customers have been mailed a notice with information about Nashua Community Power. I saw that some of you have your notices with you, so that's cool to see them in real life. Power and electric rates and energy supply choice options. All customers have at least until April 23rd, 2023, when Nashua Community Power launches, to consider whether to opt out, opt in, or opt up to a cleaner power. If you choose to do any of those things after April 23rd, you will be changed in the next billing cycle. So there's still time to change whenever you want during the program. You just will be changed after April 23rd. So you'll have one bill that says Nashua Community Power. Most customers currently on Eversource default supply are automatically enrolled into our lower rates electric program unless they choose to opt out of the program. Customers begin taking service from Nashua Community Power on the date Eversource reads their meter, which is between April and May 2023. On your Eversource bill, the supplier line will read Community Power. Currently, it reads Eversource if you get default supply. If you have a third-party supplier, it will read the name of that person, like Constellation, First Point, or Direct Energy, or whoever you have chosen to supply with. Select customer groups are not automatically enrolled, but may choose to opt in. After the launch of Nashua Community Power, customers are always free to choose to buy power from Eversource or from other market options by submitting a notice in advance of their next utility meter read date. So, choices. It's nice to have choices, right? I like to have a lot of choices. Here you have choices. You can select what type of energy you would like. The default power supply is currently 15 cents or 15.8 cents, and that is called Granite Basic, and it has a renewable energy content of 23.4%. The next opt-up option, which is something you would have to choose and call in to do, is called Granite Plus, and that has a renewable energy content of 33%. The next one is Clean 50, and it has a renewable energy content of 50%, and the next one after that is Clean 100 with a renewable energy content of 100%. The current Eversource default rate has the same renewable energy content as Granite Basic, and it is at 22.2 cents per kilowatt hour, and our default rate is 15.8 cents per kilowatt hour, so you can see a significant difference in price. If you would like to call to opt out of Nashua Community Power or select a different power option like Granite Plus, Clean 50, or Clean 100, the phone number to do so is here. It's 1-866-603-POWER, which I think is an adorable phone number. Please have your utility account number handy so you can make the selection process easier. If you don't have your account handy, I believe you could use your address information and name to be able to get to switch over to a higher renewable energy content or to opt out of the program. It would just be a lot easier if you knew what your utility account number was. Customers are always free to choose to buy power from the utility or from another market option without charge. So if you choose to not become a member of Nashua Community Power and get your own supplier or be on the Eversource default rate, you will not be charged any sort of extra money to do so. You'll just be switched over again in the next billing cycle. So that will happen whenever you would like. So there are other rates on your mailer that I noticed have confused a few people. So if you are a mid-sized commercial user, you're not a regular resident, you're like a business or something like that, you have a different rate. So the National Community Power rate for these groups, which is called Class GV, will be in April 19.415 cents, May 15.3 cents, June 13.3 cents, and July 16.28 cents. And all of those rates are currently under the rate of the Eversource Class GV rate. So these are mid-sized commercial users. You can also pay an additional 0.4 cents, 0.11 cents, or 0.33 cents to opt up into the Granite Plus, Clean 50, or Clean 100 programs. So this has a lot of community developments that come up with it, and this is why in Nashua we're so excited to present you this program. So the first benefit is savings. I don't know if a lot of you noticed, but in August, electricity rates went from 14 cents to 22 cents per kilowatt hour. I know that it opened a lot of people's eyes to how does electricity work, where is it coming from, and how is my rate changing. So this program should help save people about $24 per month in May, June, and July. And we're hoping to realize even more savings than that as we reestablish rates after July. Nashua Community Power accused a reserve fund as well to create long-term benefits, including rate stability. So if rates were to skyrocket again, we would be able to use the reserve fund to be able to offset that skyrocket so you wouldn't see your utility bill jump from 14 cents to 22 cents per kilowatt hour again. You would see something a little bit less drastic as reserve funds accumulate. Now, I do want to say that this is a new program, and National Community Power and the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire are a new company. So if rates do skyrocket and like tomorrow, we might not have enough reserve funding to offset those skyrocketing rates, but that's not projected to happen. What we are projecting to see is rates continue to decrease, reserve funding to continue to accrue, and if electricity rates do skyrocket, to have enough reserve funding to be able to offset that skyrocket so that it's a little bit more comfortable for people. So we are projecting a 3-month bill savings of $2.6 million, 3-month reserve accrual of $4.5 million, and default customers of 36,663, and an annual megawatt generation of 312,472 megawatts for the city of Nashua. And I can tell you that's a lot of energy. And we expect most people to be on the Granite Basic, which is that 23.4% renewable option, and that's how the savings number and everything was calculated here. So the long-term benefits we expect to see from this program are competitive and stable rates, an increase in clean energy options, investing in the community through local renewable energy projects, and more local control and say in how energy prices look for the city of Nashua. So we are a part of the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. That is a group of 30+ cities, towns, and counties that have come together to start this organization. We currently have 2 representatives on the coalition's board, myself, and I am our member representative, and Deb Chisholm, who is our alternate. So we attend currently monthly meetings and they've been more than monthly lately to get this program started to talk about what electricity rates will look like, and we bring those rates and information back to our Board of Aldermen so that we can continue to have a say on what electricity looks like for the community. This is just a brief slide about what the coalition is all about. Here are all 30 members. We represent 21% of the New Hampshire population, 119,000 customers, 960,000 megawatt hours per year, 150 million in revenue per year, and currently we're launching with 12 to 14 towns in 2023, and we expect another 18 to come on in 2024, so that will increase reserve funds. So I want to do a little bit about customers who are eligible for automatic enrollment in the program. So certain customer groups are not automatically enrolled in the National Community Power Program. So that includes people who currently have contracted for their own third-party supplier. So if you have like Constellation, Direct Energy, or something like that, you will not be automatically enrolled in the Community Power Program. If you are currently net metering with solar panels, you will not be automatically enrolled in the Community Power Program. Large general service customers, so Class LG, and electric vehicle charging station customers, Class EV2, will not be automatically enrolled in the program. If you fall into one of these groups and you would like to be enrolled in the program, first, if you're a third-party supply customer, I suggest you look at your contract before you choose to enroll in Nashua Community Power. You can incur fees for leaving your contract early if you choose to leave, and Nashua Community Power is not responsible to pay them. If you are a net metered customer, I recommend that you look at how much electricity you send back to the grid. If you choose to enroll with Nashua Community Power and you send excess to the grid and you make a credit off of that, we won't be able to account for that credit, so you won't be able to get that money back. So I would suggest looking into that if you're a net metered customer. If you are a large service customer, I suggest calling this number, 1-866-603-POWER, to discuss what your options are so you can figure out if this would be the right program for you. Here's some extra information on net metered customers. It was a really big disappointment for us to not be able to include net meter customers at launch. So currently we aren't able to get information from the utility about excess credits coming back to you for excess electricity generation. We are currently working with the coalition to engage the New Hampshire Public Utility Commission to resolve these issues and bring utilities into compliance with New Hampshire law and regulatory rules. When utilities provide the necessary data to be able to do these billing services, Nashua Community Power will offer net metered rates to these customers, but currently that is not happening. Net metered customers who opt in to Community Power will no longer receive credits as an offset for supply generated. So again, please look at your bill to make sure that you're not one of those customers if you choose to opt into Community Power as a net meter customer. Again, the number is on this slide. And I do want to say that this slide will be posted on the City of Nashua Aggregation Committee page if you want to refer back to it. I just want to go over some key points before we take questions. So most Eversource default electricity supply will be automatically enrolled between April 23rd and the end of May. And the same service for a lower price, Nashua Community Power will be the new default electricity supplier for all Nashua customers. Participation in Community Power is voluntary. Customers can choose to opt out and to stay with Eversource for electricity supply or shop for another market option. Eversource will continue to deliver electricity using their poles and wires to provide billing services and ensure reliability. Customer shopping with third-party suppliers will remain with their supplier unless they choose to opt into Nashua Community Power. Nashua Community Power is a self-funded organization by rates participating in this program. No taxes will be used to cover program expenses. That's a big one. The State of New Hampshire Emergency Assistance Program. So if you are on assistance as a income qualified customer, you are still eligible for this program and will be enrolled in the default rate. You can apply for assistance until April 30th, 2023. National Community Power does not manage this program, but we do have a link to energynewhampshire.gov to be able to contact somebody to enroll in this program if you would like to or if you need to. I'm open now for questions and answers. I do want to point out the phone number for this is on this last slide, so if you want to take a picture and call it, I suggest that you do. And yeah, if you have a question, please raise your hand.
If we go on National Power, this thing, we're going to diminish the income for Eversource, right? But they still have to maintain the infrastructure, and they have to have a certain amount of income. So if we take away part of their income doing this, then they're going to have to raise the delivery charge, won't they, in order to maintain the infrastructure?
So in your delivery charge, they already put in all of the costs it takes to maintain that infrastructure, and that is where they essentially make their profit. So they shouldn't have to increase delivery fees in order to continue to maintain the lines because they're already charging you for that. What we're affecting is the supply rate, which is something that they were required to do as a utility by the not Department of Energy, wow, by the PUC. So we are now the default supplier, and it really shouldn't affect how much they charge for delivery fees because they should have already accounted for all of that and what they currently charge.
Okay, so then you're saying that the money that they collected for being the supplier was not applied to the delivery or to maintenance of infrastructure.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good question.
You may have said this, but the 15 cents or 15.7, whatever it is, that's guaranteed for what time period?
That's guaranteed.
And when does that get changed throughout the year?
That's guaranteed until July. We should see either the same rate or a different rate coming out to you all after that. And we're not 100% sure of how long the next rate would be held, but I think it should be for longer than this current period. So the reason why it's so short right now is because it's a new program, and we weren't sure how much reserve funding we'd be able to get. But now that we'd be able to stabilize and normalize the program from having customers pay into the program for 3 months, we should be able to hold rates for a little bit longer, but I don't know what the time
So
period
beyond
is.
July, you haven't really set when you're going to reset or look at the rate?
Yes, but there will be a new rate beyond July. It will have to be reset.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Two questions. One is how much of the supply, not transmission, but supply, is generated in-state in New Hampshire? And then how much of the renewable is hydro versus anything else?
It's on the back page of the flyer.
Oh, cool.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you.
Deb, I've got this. I don't have the flyer in front of me, so I don't want to be wrong, but there you go. I got Dan Weeks holding up the flyer for everybody. I think that gentleman in the plaid shirt had a question.
Yes. Will Community Power be doing the purchasing on the wholesale electric market themselves, or is there a broker involved? And
So, yes. So Nashua is not doing any sort of brokerage ourselves. We currently have one energy manager and a sustainability department of 2. And for 35,000 customers, I don't know if I could handle it. So we are working with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, and they have contracted Calpine and Ascend to help with the financial aspects of that and also the technical aspects of purchasing electricity. So we have contracted with third-party vendors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So also a couple of questions. Was Eversource dragged kicking and screaming, or did they volunteer? And on the renewables, is that coming from the hydroelectric dams that we have here? And what if there's issues with that? Will the price go up because the renewable is not available?
All right, for your first question, I will refer to Eversource. You can ask them how they feel about the program because I can't speak for them. As for renewables, we aren't currently buying electricity from our hydroelectric dams. There's potential to do that in the future. We are required to have that, I think it's 23% renewable energy content makeup in the default supply rate. So however the market goes for renewable energy is how that rate will go. But it's something that everybody's required to have. Eversource, the Community Power Coalition, or whatever utility is offering default supply. So if renewable energy resources go up in price, that price will go up, as well as for the opt-up options. Thank you.
Will the coalition maintain a fund to level rates from month to month, or do we just pay what the power actually costs the coalition at the end of every month?
So you will receive one bill every month like you currently do with Eversource, and it'll come from Eversource, just like your regular bill. The coalition is accruing reserve funding to help offset rates, but you should get that 15.8 rate as a default supply until July, with rates changing after that. But for an extended period of time, you will lock into a different rate. You shouldn't see rates change or fluctuate every single month unless you're in that GV class that I mentioned earlier.
Two questions. One regarding the 1-800 number. I'm assuming we will get somebody live to talk to
Yes,
at the end of that. And that is not, I mean, I don't mean that as a joke, but the reason I asked that question is for somebody like me who has a really high electricity bill for a house. I know everybody's going to be kind of grandfathered into the default piece, right? But what are my choices and what are the benefits of considering the other choices? And that's what I want to understand, which is why I asked that question.
Yep, so yes, you'll have a real person to talk to, and it's not going to be me, I apologize, but we have employed, through the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, a whole customer service team to field questions and help people opt in, opt out, or opt up if they choose to.
Hi. So that 15.8 default rate, now I've heard of other supply companies, during peak hours, the rate goes up, like from 4 to 8 p.m. Is that 15.8 all day, every day, for that 3-month period?
All day, every day, just like the Eversource.
So we're not going to
rate.
get slammed with peak charges and all this?
Absolutely not.
All right, thank you.
When it comes to servicing, has there been any commitment from the Eversource side that we're not going to be deprioritized when an outage happens?
You should not be deprioritized when an outage happens. They are the utility, and they are required to react if there is an outage in the community.
Understood, they'll react, but I've been told multiple times over the years that I'm the lowest priority because of where I am.
So that is an Eversource issue. I would.
No, I know, but I
Yeah.
can just envision this snowballing down the line.
I don't envision that as an issue. The utility is required to react in a timely manner when power outages happen. It's dangerous if they do not.
So you said there are like 20 some odd members of this coalition. Obviously, we're probably not the first in line. So what's the track record? What happened to the other 19 or 20 or whatever? How long has this been going on? I don't like to be the first one in line. I don't mind being number 2 or number 3, but what's the track record for this community power thing across all those other communities?
So the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire is a new community-owned nonprofit company. It started up in 2022 or 2021. We incorporated, and Nashua is one of the founding members of the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. We are launching this program with 12 communities as the first 12 communities to launch a community power program with the coalition, along with other communities who are launching their program for the first time as well with other companies. Track record-wise, we have looked to the California and Massachusetts methods and have used vendors that have implemented programs in those states as well. And we are pretty confident that this will be a successful program and we'll be able to continue servicing customers for as long as Nashua chooses to have a community power program.
So we have nothing for those 15 cents per kilowatt hour. Sounds more like a guess, because we have nothing from other communities in the state to say, yeah, you've been running this, or we've been running this for 6 months, 9 months, or a year, and we sort of know what this is going to cost us.
So that 15-cent rate is a negotiated rate that we've locked into with third-party suppliers and through the wholesale market. That rate is guaranteed, and we will continue to establish rates that way. I do not see that rate changing or disappearing for as long as the community power program runs. So I did misspeak there. I do see that 15.8-cent rate changing, hopefully decreasing as electric rates go down this summer. But we should be able to continue to establish rates for everybody. And we have contracted with professionals who have been doing this for a very long time, and I'm very confident that the program will be successful and continue.
So I know you said you purchase, renewable energies, but if we opt in for the 100, does that energy, like the exact energy coming to my apartment, that means that
No.
that's renewable? Okay.
No,
That's what I thought.
so what you're doing is buying into renewable energy credits, or RECs for short. You are getting the credit for electricity that is being generated by a renewable energy resource. It's an accounting mechanism. For example, we have hydroelectric dams here in Nashua, and we sell our renewable energy credits for people to be able to say that they have renewable energy. And maybe in the future, the coalition would be able to buy some of those renewable energy credits to be able to include it in Nashua's portfolio. So what you're essentially doing is purchasing into RECs, which is an accounting mechanism so that you can say that you used that renewable energy that was generated and put into the grid.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I have another question. If there is an outage or something happens and we need repairs, do we call the coalition directly or Eversource?
You call Eversource.
Okay.
The coalition is not managing the lines. Eversource will continue being that, the people that you would call for that.
Thank you. Sorry. Quick comment and a question. Just the comment is, as a Nashville resident and someone who works in clean energy, I am really excited about this. For folks who don't live in the energy world, this may seem kind of newfangled and maybe a little bit daunting or scary. I can say that it is the rule that larger buyers of electricity in New Hampshire do a form of exactly this and have for decades, which is to go and negotiate for a better price on the market than the utility, which is a monopoly and doesn't have an incentive to get the best price for consumers. So the rule is in New Hampshire for a few decades, large buyers of electricity, the city of Nashua, the schools, any business in our city and throughout the state is getting a better rate than we as homeowners are getting or renters are getting through the default service. So part of the magic of this from my perspective, and I don't work for the coalition, but I'm excited by what they're doing, and I've been watching their progress over the last couple of years. Part of what they're doing is getting us that purchasing power to do as large businesses or large cities are doing already and have been doing. And that's how the price comes down. And to the first question and others around Eversource's role, they do have their costs fully covered through those other multiple line items on our bill, the delivery, the transmission, the stranded costs, the system benefits. They were compelled to no longer own generating assets through the deregulation process, so we can rest assured, and I've been tracking this for some years, that they will not be jacking up our prices on those other line items because as a regulated utility, they have to get every rate approved by our Public Utilities Commission, and those other charges on the bill are how they cover their costs. That will also mean that when power goes out, they are still being compensated in the way they are today, so they have the same commitment and incentives to get power back on in the manner they do today. So thanks for letting me editorialize there. It's really just a matter of my excitement about this program that I hope for folks who don't live in energy, it doesn't feel too scary, because again, this is an established process that we've seen work for a long time. The question, Doria, was just, I believe it's the aspiration of the Community Power Coalition to help bring more local renewables online as you build future portfolios, and I wonder if you can just speak to that a little more.
Yeah, so this is a game changer. Also, I want to speak to Dan Weeks, who just asked this question. He was one of the original members of the Environment and Energy Committee, where we established a goal to be 100% renewable energy by 2050 as a community. And this program would be a big part of that as people choose to opt up into 100% renewable energy, but also through reserve accruals, we expect to be able to invest in renewable energy as a community in the future. And that's a barrier removal because I don't know about you all, but $45,000 to put solar on a home is very expensive, and not a lot of people have that on hand. Through this program, we would be able to use reserve funding to be able to invest in renewable energy that the community owns, and that will further drive down energy rates and bring us closer to 100% renewable energy goal that the city of Nashua has established. I hope I answered your question.
You're going to need a microphone because
Yeah, we'll get you next.
When you indicated the community would own some of those renewable resources, does that mean that the customers are then shareholders in the coalition?
So I think that's an interesting perspective and how to look at it. I don't know exactly how that will shape as the program evolves, but I think that as we start doing special projects, we'll be able to really define that and identify community members as shareholders if that's how we choose to manage the special project a renewable energy project would be.
Another question while I have the mic, if that's okay. Are there, how many employees are currently in the coalition?
Currently, so I am a member of the search committee, and we are currently working on getting a CEO, and they are in negotiations with one. That person should be on board in the late spring, and then that person would be responsible for creating the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire team. Currently, we are working with different vendors and contractors to run the program, as well as the significant effort of volunteers from director members, including our board chair, Clifton Belo, who I don't think has slept in the last 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next.
So who currently does own the coalition, and how is its management selected? I mean, we've mentioned shareholders. Is there a voting committee or something like that, or
Yes.
is it delegated through the towns? How does that work?
So not National Community Power. The Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire is owned by the 30 member communities. It is a 501c4 nonprofit. We currently do not have staff, but we will have them in the late spring with the CEO and eventually bringing on more people the next couple of months. As for voting, we have member directors, so each community member sends a director to board meetings, and that's how we vote on things like the salary for a CEO, or how much money is needed for X, Y, and Z, or what our electricity rates will be. So it's really run by community members. Yes, and I am that appointee.
I have experience buying electricity to a third party. Usually when you enroll in, the price is cheaper, but along the way, the price get the same price of Eversource or more expensive. So this program, always the price gonna be competitive compared to Eversource?
Yes, the goal of the program is to remain competitive in comparison to the Eversource rate and other third-party supply rates. I do want to point out that sometimes in third-party contracts, they do have a mechanism to increase your price at the end of a contract. I noticed that there are some rates that are coming out offering like 10 or 11 cents per kilowatt hour for 6 months, but you could see your rate increase potentially above the default rate after that. So I suggest that everybody really looks at the contracts that come up to them as they choose to either work with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire or opt to work with a different third-party vendor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just going to comment on the Eversource because my cousin is a lineman and he really truly believes his job is just the lines and the equipment, and they don't really care about the electricity besides it being dangerous to them. And he kind of described it to me like water slides at Water Country are controlled by the company and taken care of, but the water just comes from Portsmouth. They don't really care where the water in a water slide comes from. And he told me just for people who feel like, oh, we don't get seen, we're not important enough, it's generally just you're not near a hospital, you're not near a police station, it's not a danger issue, you live kind of by yourself. And that was just a comment I wanted to add about knowing somebody who works at Eversource.
Okay.
I have a third-party supplier, Direct Energy, and if I'll have to check on what's cost to opt out, and then do I tell them I want out? How does that work?
So you have to look at your contract.
Right.
So with different suppliers, there are different ways that you need to opt out of their program.
Okay.
So I suggest that you take a look at their contract. For some, you could call the coalition and end up rolled over by opting into the coalition, but that you could incur fees that way if you do it outside of your contract terms. So I really encourage all third-party customers to take a look at their contract to see what the mechanism is for them to change. Wow, Deb, that changed things for me. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for everything you do, Doria. I've had a couple of constituents who have a third party who've contacted me who said that there is no fee. They could opt out at any time, but I'm glad that you're telling everybody to still read your contract.
Yes.
But read your contract before you speak to them, because one of the people had looked at it, said it was a 2-year contract, but there was no, it very specifically said it in, but yet when they called someone, they said that they would incur a fee. So read your contract and talk to them very carefully. And also as far as the, my big bugaboo about the net metering issue, and I've talked to the PUC. Okay, I've talked to the PUC about 2 things. One is Eversource has got to give you the same customer service they've been giving you, whether you're third party, whether you're net metering, whether you're part of them 100%. If they don't, the PUC will hear about it. Contact your state rep or whoever. I was up there in Concord when they were doing this, and that was a question that came up. So just to let them know, and I'm glad Dan mentioned the fact about that no, I just lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. But I'm glad that he mentioned the points about this being a very exciting kind of energy change. And I know some people have some anxiety about it, but just to let everybody know, you're probably not going to do this, but you could be in it for 2 months and say, nope, I want to go back to Eversource. I don't care if I'm paying more. and it happens within that next month, the next billing cycle. Is that correct? Am I correct on that?
Yep. If you choose in the middle of a billing cycle to opt out of the program, within the next billing cycle, not within, in the next billing cycle, you will be on whatever rate you choose, whether it's the Eversource default rate or a third-party supplier you've negotiated with.
And I just want to make a couple comments about net metering. I found this very interesting. There's two people on net metering. They're the grandfathered ones that were what they called Tariff 1, I think it is, and that was pre-2017. Those people get the net metering on both supply and distribution. If you're after 2017, you're only getting it, I think, on the distribution. You're not getting it on supply. I don't understand why. Supply and a quarter of distribution. So those that are on third party, or they call them CLECs and so on, they seem to be getting it. For some reason, we can't get it. And I don't understand that. The PUC, when I talked to them, they said, to speak to Mr. Bellows, and I said, we have been, and I'm letting you all know, the PUC is going to be holding a hearing with Eversource, because they're going to try to stop anybody who's net metering going anywhere but them. So just to let you know, feel free to call your state rep, feel free to call your PUC. We need to stop that from happening, so thank you.
So I want to add to that, a big part of being a part of the coalition is being able to speak with the voice of 30 communities and under the expertise of people who have been doing this forever. So it's really been a benefit to us to be a part of the coalition because we've been able to be heard in these public hearings and just continue to participate. And also thank you for reaching out to the PUC.
So question on the net metering, how will that happen? Will we be notified that, because we have solar panels and it's very expensive to have Eversource provide that. How will that happen? Are there people working on our behalf?
Yes, so currently we have been writing petitions and letters to the PUC. We will be represented in the public hearing. If there is a change for net metered customers, there should be a mailer that goes out to them. I do want to point out that there is a mechanism. Let's say you're a net metered customer and you opt into the program, but then you decide to opt out of the program. If you opt out of the program, you might not be eligible to receive a mailer.
Thank you.
Is there a difference in quality of energy? Because why would somebody want to go back to Eversource after being on this?
There's a difference in price, but on the default supply rate, you're technically getting the same quality of energy if quality to you is the amount of renewable energy in your electricity. So the default is the same as as Eversource.
Okay.
So
we won't have blackouts.
No, you won't have blackouts. You'll be all right. Yep. Every month you'll receive a bill from Eversource. Well, if you opt out 1 month, you'll be opted out until you opt in again.
Since your city of Nashua is actually making some money off of this for future renewables, is there any long-term goal of going the next step of municipalizing and buying the assets? I mean, Wolfboro, Littleton, they're paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour, 11 cents a kilowatt hour. Is that on the radar in the future?
So I want to make something clear. The city of Nashua as a municipality is not profiting off of this program. No tax dollars go into the program. We have no access to the accounts from this program. The municipality is different than Nashua Community Power, and that's different than the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. So the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire is the group that has the bank account and is holding reserve funding. Eventually, as we hit reserve funding goals, money will be available to Nashua Community Power, which is a separate entity from the city of Nashua, to invest in special projects. And that could include PPAs or power purchase agreements for renewable energy or different types of power, like maybe biomass one day. And that could potentially continue to drive down electricity rates in a similar way to the communities that you have spoken about.
But no intention ever to buy the assets and become a municipal utility?
So I don't want to say there's 100% an intention, but there's definitely a possibility to have programs like that as we get more reserve funding, but that is a few years down the line, as this is a very new program.
Hello, my name is Luis, and me and my coworkers actually work with PPAs, so if you guys have any questions about those, feel free to ask us when this is over. Yeah, cool. Sorry, I'm a little nervous, but nice to meet you guys.
All right.
You mentioned earlier an ambition to shift more toward renewable power by 2050. Is the organization contemplating dipping its fingers into the financial and technical complexities of doing something like that, or will it remain just a power purchase and sale organization?
So there is a mechanism in the coalition to be able to do special projects. They'll have special project committees, and Nashua, if we choose to expand our renewable energy, we could do it through special projects with the coalition using reserve funding. So I wouldn't say that that's the goal of that organization, but if it's the community's goal, there are mechanisms to make that happen.
Hi. So this gentleman just actually touched on the question that I had, which was, it sounded like you said earlier that the goal was for 100% renewables. What does that actually mean, like, for someone that doesn't want to put solar panels on their house?
Yep. So that is a really good question. And if I'm going to be really honest, I don't know what that means in 2050. What I do know that this program is a way to move us closer to that on the electricity side, for people to have more access if they choose to get more renewable energy credits, to have a more renewable energy portfolio in their electricity bill. And that's what it looks like for this program right now. I think that there'll need to be new programs put in place to get people to 100% renewable energy in Nashua, but I don't know what that looks like right now, but I'm really excited to explore it, especially if it's going to continue to drive down rates for the community.
Yeah, I guess what my concern is, going forward into the future, would it come to a point where if you didn't opt to, do solar on your house, would those resources of energy go away eventually? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not 100% understanding what you're saying, but I'm going to try to. So are you asking me, if you don't choose to do solar panels right now, would that opportunity go away?
No,
because
no,
of this
that's not
program?
what I'm asking.
Okay.
What I'm asking is that if at some point, a lot of people are going solar and all this, if you chose to not go solar,
Okay.
would you still have electricity available to you?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, you would.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just curious about how much of the 23% renewable energy is foreign derived, for example, hydroelectric and what have you. I know that sometimes power in bundles is purchased from Canada and whatnot. And I'm just curious how that impacts this program.
I do have those numbers. I don't know them off the top of my head, but if we talk later, I can give you my information and I can send them to you.
First, I want to thank you for this program. Sounds fantastic.
And I think it's a great move forward for the whole town and the community as a whole. My question is that, and I don't know if this is the right forum for this or not, but there's going to be increasing demand on electricity. It seems like with the innovations with electric vehicles and kind of moving away from fossil fuel usage, that inevitably there's going to be a tremendous increase in demand on electricity. How are we going to be able to respond to that?
That is a big question. I don't know if I have all the answers right now, but I think that that's something that we should be thinking about as a community and as a state. I wish I had an answer to your question, but I'm excited as an energy professional to be a part of that solution.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. To the young man to the left of me, can he explain what is PPA and how would these people come to talk to him about PPA? I had to look it up myself.
So a PPA is a power purchase agreement. This is a meeting about Nashua Community Power. If you want to talk to this gentleman, I'm assuming you're from a private company, you can do so after the meeting, but this is not a meeting about power purchase agreements. Yeah.
Recently, the utilities had difficulty having participation in their request for proposals and solicitations for energy. Is there a plan for the coalition if they have limited or unreasonable bids for their energy, a market-based approach, for example?
Yeah, so that's where the reserve funding comes in. So by accruing that money, we'd be able to offset crazy spikes in the energy industry if they happen.
Sure. And one more follow-up question. You mentioned rates will change August 1st for the coalition.
July. Yep.
And the utilities.
So I believe Eversource negotiates their rate in June, but they changed their rate in August.
Correct.
Our rate would be changing, I believe, in July, but I don't want to misspeak on that. So if you want, we can trade information and I can share that.
Well, fair enough. I guess the crux of my question, if the coalition contracts, for example, 1 year, and there's no penalty or fee from switching back and forth, how is the coalition going to manage or mitigate customer migrations from kind of playing that game?
The way they would manage it is to remain competitive with utility rates. They are constantly working with Calpine and Ascend to be able to have rates that are competitive compared to the utilities, and I think that they'll be able to continue to offer rates either the same or under the utility rate. So I think they'll be all right. All right, do we have any more questions? All right.
So will the coalition rate always be less than what we're paying in Eversource?
So that is the goal. I can't say that it will always be less than what we're paying in Eversource because there are things that could happen in the market, and I don't want to make that guarantee to you. But I think that the coalition's business model is very good, and they should be able to continue to offer rates that are competitive.
So that's the long-term plan, too. Okay, my second question, what can you do about the cable bill?
Oh, I don't know. No comment. Yeah.
So I guess I'm a little confused, which is not unusual. But if Eversource has to negotiate their rate or get approval, it's usually for like a year. And I've got a rate here that says gets me to July. Okay. Are you going to be negotiating my rates for 6 months or a year? I mean, I know you said you've got this reserve fund that will prevent spikes, but I want some sort of assurance that, you know, whatever I'm paying per kilowatt hour, I can figure I'm going to pay for the next 6 months, 9 months, or a year.
So the goal of the coalition is to be able to extend those rates out further than we have at the initial launch of the program. Eversource negotiates for supply every 6 months, so the rate changes twice a year. I don't know what it will look like for the coalition, but I do expect for those rates to hold for longer than we are seeing them right now. But the energy market currently is trending down, and I think that it's going to be really exciting in the summer as we negotiate for new rates. All right.
Going once, going twice.
All right. No.
I'm pretty ignorant of all the energy world, but so currently the Public Utilities Commission they provide oversight for EverSource. Will they be providing oversight for the coalition?
Absolutely. So the Public Utility Commission has a list of rules for CCAs or community power programs to operate, and we have been operating in compliance with those rules and plan to continue to.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you all.